And announce the beginning of the call. Aloha, everybody. It's a history-making day. It's Monday, March 4th, 2024, or Tuesday, March 5th for our friends in Asia. And this is Jim.
And this is Dory.
And this is it's our last practice group on this particular series. Now, nothing's going to change, really. We're going to keep going next week, same time, just a different channel. And we'll tell you more about that as we go on today when more people arrive. But so we're going to spend some time today celebrating and mourning our time together. This group's been going since February 2020 or March 2020 is when we stopped doing our in-person practice group here in Maui when the pandemic was getting started. And we were all so confused then. It was such a scary time, and we all gathered together in community here and supported each other and practiced NVC together now for about 4 years. And it's going to shift slightly starting next week. We'll be sponsored by NVC Academy, our friend Mary McKenzie and her gang over at NVC Academy.
And that basically just means that there'll be a different sign in, and you'll still have all the same choices you have here in terms of recordings and.
Oh, even more. There's even a
Yeah.
classroom. There's ways for you to communicate with each other, and we'll go over some of that next week. And we'll actually have a coordinator come to the calls, so Jory and I won't be fighting over the mouse anymore. And so hopefully it'll provide some ease and a much more professional experience for all of us.
And support for us, which I really appreciate.
Absolutely. Hey, it's really nice to see you all. And so if you're here for the first time, a special warm welcome to you. We call it a practice group because we really focus on practice. And so there'll be opportunities for you to practice in 3 different ways. You'll be able to practice self-connection or self-empathy today. We'll do that starting in just a few minutes. And then there'll be an opportunity to go to small groups and practice the honesty part of NVC where you express what's going on for you. And then the empathy part where you're present and listening to other people. And so those are the 3 ways of practice. I'll give you some ideas of how to practice as we keep going. While I'm doing the self-connection exercise, Jory's going to be putting you into small groups so that when I'm done leading you, you'll be able to go to that small group and just talk about your experience if you'd like to.
Yeah, and I see there's one person who has letters and numbers for their name, and if you would like to be in a breakout group, it would be helpful if if you put your name on that. It says Apple.
Yeah, it's probably her phone. That's
Okay.
what kind of phone it is, or
Okay.
his. Yeah.
So just so you know, um,
And if you don't know how to change your name, we can do that for you. You can just let us know in the chat or whatever. Okay.
oh, there we go. I see it. Okay, so you will want to be in a group. That helps to be able to see your face. Thank you. Oh.
And if you don't want to be in a group, just let us know. Hey, Eric, I'm really glad you're here. Really appreciate your support the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And love to check in with you after the self-connection exercise. Let's start with a self-connection. Self-connection is just an opportunity to practice nonviolent communication with yourself. And no previous experience necessary because you have everything that you need to practice NVC. You were born with all the necessary equipment, which is basically a nervous system and a heart. And so that's what we'll be playing with here. And let's just start with the nervous system. All of us on this call are likely to be in a safe place. If you're not in a safe place, then please leave and go get to a safe place. But assuming that you're in a safe place, you have this luxury to be able to just pause and look around and confirm for yourself that you're in a safe place. So just let your eyes wander around the space that you're in and let them go wherever they want to go, rather than you trying to control what you're looking at. See if you can relax your will for a moment and just let your eyes go wherever they want to go. That means in front of you or behind you or underneath your desk or wherever your eyes want to go. And as you do this, you can just begin to notice your body. This usually has the effect of beginning to activate the part of the body that can help you to relax and become more present. It's like confirmation that you're safe. And again, if for whatever reason you're not safe, then please leave the call and take care of yourself. And if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes. I'm going to. And I'm going to do the same thing with my ears. It's easier actually with the ears because we can't point our ears as much as we can point our eyes. So just relax and see what you become aware of in terms of sounds in your environment. You may also become aware of thoughts, which are like sounds we make inside our own head, like we're talking to ourselves, making images. Having memories, planning. If you notice that, you just notice it. You don't have to try to do anything about it. That's just what's arising in your experience. It's a really important step in learning and integrating nonviolent communication to become aware of thinking. And now switch channels and tune into your body. Notice any sensations that are present for you. Could be a sense of some pain, could be some sense of warmth or coolness, some kind of constriction or openness. And just allow yourself to do a body scan, starting with your toes and going up through your body, just noticing sensations that are present. This is a form of self-empathy to just begin to become more and more present to the signals that your body is sending you about the state of your needs. Again, you might notice thoughts creeping in, even though you might have an intention to focus on sensations, thoughts still arise. That's okay. Just notice that and move back to your intention to notice the body. And realize that when you feel pain, it's an indication that there's some underlying need that needs addressing. So maybe it's something as simple as adjusting your body, or sometimes pain has a deeper source and you might need to get some treatment. If you notice a sense of openness or pleasure, that's another signal that needs are satisfied. in that particular area of the body. An equally important piece of information. And then become aware of emotions. Sometimes when we attach meaning to the sensations, we experience emotion. Something like curiosity or peace or boredom, annoyance, frustration, anger, gratitude. And notice it's a little like a kaleidoscope, at least in my experience, where these sensations and emotions just arise and fall away. And you can just be the one present to notice this, present with a sense of self-empathy, being present. These sensations and emotions, these are Marshall Rosenberg, the founder of NVC, called them feelings. And I learned from Marshall that these feelings were pointers to our needs. So just ask yourself, what are the feelings that I'm having right now, letting me know is important to me in this moment? What are the feelings letting me know is important to me? What's important? I'll make some guesses based on previous experience that some of the needs that are alive might be learning, community, connection, inspiration, empathy, contribution, support, fun, growth. If any of these words resonate for you, just settle into them and experience that resonance. And if they don't, then just experience whatever resonance you have. Maybe you have your own words to describe your needs. I trust that. So now we've used nonviolent communication to answer the first question that NVC was designed to answer, which is, how are you? This simple, basic, vital question, how are you? Now you've answered it in a very deep and complete way. And it opens up the possibility to consider the second question, which is what would make your life more wonderful from now on? What would make your life more wonderful from this moment forward? Especially consider any requests you have of yourself so that the time you're investing in our class today, you actually get your expectations met, your hopes fulfilled. What could you ask yourself to support that happening? Feel free to jot down any of these requests that you have as they come up so you can remember them. Also, if you have any reflections that you'd like to note about the exercise, Take about 30 seconds for you to do that. Thank you, Jory. Jory's made some groups for you. And we will invite you to hang out with some friends for about 12 minutes. It'll actually be 13 because there'll be 1 minute at the end. You'll see a little timer in the upper right-hand corner of your screen if you have the latest Zoom software that will count down from 12. And then there'll be 1 minute. You don't need to do anything. You can sit on your hands and you'll automatically zoom back here after 13 minutes. So now what do you do in the small group? Well, this is a chance just to connect with some new human beings that maybe you've never met before, or perhaps say hello to people that you have met here on the group before. And so you might introduce yourself, say where you're from, say how you're feeling when it's your turn to speak. If there's a reaction or a response you had to the exercise, like some kind of a celebration about insight that you had, or any kind of mourning that you had about how it didn't really work for you. It's a chance to be honest. And then your partners will just with empathy while you do that. So let's go ahead and open the groups.
Wait one more second here because we've got someone. I've got two there.
Okay.
Okay, now we're good.
Click that open in all rooms.
All righty.
See you back here in 13 minutes.
Bye-bye. Yeah, now here comes everybody zooming back in.
I love this moment.
Uh-huh.
All the cameras are on. I get to kind of glance at everybody on my screen and see folks.
Yeah, that is nice. There's something about that sense of connection that I really value. And I also understand some of you don't want your video on, and that's okay too. But I do love that sense of community.
Yeah.
And
So
I see your smiles, your faces, we're looking down. It's fun.
we had a sweet little time with a few of us here in our own little breakout room. And so I'm curious to hear what it was like for you. What did, if anybody would like to share what your experience in the small group is, this is your chance to do it. It's our chance to experience empathy for whatever you would like to share. And it's your chance to just share honesty about what's been going on for the last half hour or so. So if you'd like to share, you can raise your hand. There's a button on the bottom of your screen that says, remarkably, raise hand. If you're missing that button because you have older Zoom software, then you can find it under the reactions tab, which is also on the bottom. It looks like an emoji. Yeah, so let's see here. Sue, go ahead.
Yeah, so Jim, when you said this will be our last session, something like that, and my heartbeat stopped. Oh God, are this session going to stop and all? And then immediately you continue, no, 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 like this is. So that was my first reaction. And there is a celebration and mourning both, like uh, the moment you said open your eyes, I mean look around, are you in a safe place, and that made me to come back to present moment. And uh, I was anxious, I was sad, I was depressed, and without very little reason. And I was like, oh my God, how many times someone needs to make me come back to present moment? How am I going to be independently coming back to present? but that exercise was wonderful.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm really, really, really grateful to both of you and the whole community. Thank you so much and love you, both
Thank
of you.
you. Thank you for being with us all the way from somewhere in India, I guess. Where in India are you?
I'm in Tamil Nadu, Pondicherry.
Aha, Pondicherry. Cool. Well, I'm glad you get up early in the morning to come and hang out with us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone else like to share? Would you shut that door because the glare is coming in?
Sure.
Ah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I might just call on a few people that I'm hungry to hear from if people don't raise their hand, because some folks often speak up, and I just notice I'm missing your voice. And I imagine some of you might be just sitting back and waiting for room and give other people room. So I understand that as well. But I am going to call on Tanya and find out how you're doing.
Oh, just so delighted to be here and see you again. And I love your new hairdo. um, I just here and appreciative, and I'm just kind of hanging back because I'm imagining you have some pearls of wisdom and NVC to share, and that's all, So I was just kind of waiting for that.
Mhm.
All right, well, I'll dig into my bag of pearls and see what comes out.
All righty.
Yeah. Thank you, Tanya. Anybody else? Let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe Jennifer. I haven't heard your voice in a long time, Jennifer. Are you willing just to say how you're doing?
Yes, I'm willing to expose my voice to public gaze. Yes, I'm glad to be for the last couple of weeks with Eric. I've got to make a plea for more sessions with Eric. He told us last week to say that to you, so I'm making a plea right now for more sessions with Eric. I'm very pleased to be back connecting with people, and the grounding was really great, because that bit about feelings are a pointer to needs. I'm thinking it's also a pointer to sensations sometimes as well. It goes both ways. So that was another small insight, and we had a good share in our group room, and I was with Tanya again. Connection.
Wonderful.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I like your insight that that often the way our brains are hooked up, we think one thing A causes B, when actually it's always systemic. There's always a flow of information going in both directions. And so I really appreciate that reminder.
Mhm.
There's our first pearl of wisdom, Tanya. And it didn't even come from me. Someone else? Anybody else? Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
There he is.
I had an interesting experience where when you talked about look around and see that you're safe, I had a little bit of fear pop up, like it reminded me of some emotions that were inside of me, which I'm glad it did. It woke me up a bit. But the fear experience that I had was about when I desire to be honest in the group. I know we're going to go to a small group and do some honesty, like the desire to not let people in and not let myself be fully seen, because it can be very tender and very, intense for me. So learning how to be honest, but not share everything that could come out of my mouth. that's kind of some awareness that I had in the practice. And I will share, because I didn't share this in the group, but I got to spend like 3 or 4 hours with one of my daughters. And it had been months and months and months since I'd seen her.
Oh,
So
It's
I
huge.
didn't, yeah, yay, people are giving me good signs, and I appreciate that. I'm done talking now. Thank you.
thank you. Well, savoring that sense of connection and
Yeah,
engagement again. Wow, wonderful.
yeah, very
Thank you.
happy for you for that.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about the containment and like the desire to like spill all the beans and then
Oh,
like
yeah.
hold
It's
that?
even a skill. It's an important skill in NVC called discernment. And we're for me, I'm constantly like and I think this is below the level of awareness most of the time, but we're trying to discern what behaviors, including opening our mouth or keeping our mouth shut, what behaviors will support life from moment to moment.
Mhm.
And developing that sense of discernment seems really, really important. I know that
huge.
our level of conflict, I'm putting a jury here, our level of conflict, I would estimate, has reduced on the order of 90 to 95% as I've worked on my skill of discernment. I used to be very reactive in responding to almost anything that Jory would say. And I mean, it could be, it could be just a simple thing as, this grapefruit is too bitter or something like that. And I would just blurt out whatever my opinion was about the grapefruit. And there was no empathy for what Jory's experience was. It was just like she's expressed her honesty, I expressed my honesty. And often that would get us entangled. And I remember awful, awful experiences of who said what when. All this coming from a lack of discernment on what would really serve life in a particular moment. And so I just started training myself to, instead of being reactive, to being more responsive. So I'd hear Jory say something, and the first thing in my mind might be something like, I don't have to respond to that. I can just be present to it and then maybe choose to, or maybe choose not to.
And it's actually a gift to the other person too, because you're using a quality of discernment that can support more connection or more balance, maybe is a better word for it. Peace and balance.
Does that make sense, Jeff? And does that match your experience?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Thank you. And you saying that you don't have to respond, the thought. So it could be reactive, be reactionary, be responsive, or be unresponsive. And that can also be a gift to the other person, giving them more space.
Right. And just your own programming to really get, I don't have to respond to that. I don't have to respond to that. I can, but I don't have to. And just to really work that into the whole system so that you don't just fall into old patterns, sort of tripping over things.
Yeah.
Thank you for the space tonight, guys. Appreciate that.
Welcome, Jeff.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for the
Jeff.
question.
Yeah.
And Sue?
I have a little query around this example of yours. She expressed fruits is XYZ and you express. So I do see that's also fine. I mean, I don't see any unpleasant thing around it. And can you make me understand what in detail? I mean,
Well, great.
did
I'm
you
glad
get my
there's nothing
question?
unpleasant for you. I mean, that's the measurement, is if it's working, do more of what works and do less of what doesn't work. And it's just what I noticed was that when I'm coming from a reactive place, it would often seem to stimulate a reactive place in the other person. In this case, Jory. It doesn't have to be Jory, it could be a friend or one of my kids or whatever, a colleague. And it's just like it's like taking that moment to be present, like you were talking about earlier, rather than to have this instantaneous reaction. Just take a beat, take a breath,
Take a pause.
and see what's going to serve life here. And if serving life means, I get to share my opinion about the grapefruit or whatever it is, that's great. As long as I do my best to practice NVC and end on a clear and present request and keep my clarity of intention and so forth. But what I noticed, Sue, was that the conflicts occur in the part that I'm responsible for when I would slip in my intention. So those of you who've been here before know, and we probably said it 10,000 times over the last 4 years, that the purpose of nonviolent communication is to create a quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving. So the intention is to connect. And I notice a competitive intention in me, which is the intention to correct. And so Jory says the grapefruit is bitter, and my experience is the grapefruit is sweet. Then I want to correct her. Then that's going to likely stimulate conflict.
Not only that, but it takes out of the system. It takes part of the system out. You're no longer in a communication with somebody. It's not us anymore. It's just, no, I'm right. It's this way.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, lot of sense. Thank you so much for explaining so beautifully.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it forward.
Yeah, so let's shift and talk about the topic a little bit, unless there's somebody else who's been waiting to go last. This is your chance to go last. If you've been waiting to raise your hand.
Yeah, if you have something you want to share, we'd love to hear it. And if not,
We'll move on.
yeah, be all her to talk.
Okay, so the topic today is celebration and mourning. And so the stimulus to the topic is that today is the last class in a series that began somewhere around March of 2020 when the pandemic happened and we stopped doing our in-person practice group here in Maui, and we decided just to move it online. Little did we know that our little practice group of 10 people, or however many people would show up, 10 to 20 people each week, would blossom into an international community with about 3,500 people on our email list. About somewhere around 2,000 or 3,000 people have come and visited this practice group at some point over the last few years. And that's just such a wonderful, deep surprise. And I really celebrate that sense of community that has grown. We've grown our friendships in India and New Zealand and Australia and other places in Asia, and even people from Africa and Europe sometimes show up here, and of course North America, Mexico, and so forth. And so we went from this little bitty teeny tiny community practice group to an international practice group, which has just been delicious in many, many ways. And it's going to shift starting next week. Nothing's really going to change other than how you log in. And there's one step you're going to have to take, which I'll put into the chat here. Click on that link. You don't have to actually go through the registration process now, but that link will take you to the NVC Academy, where you can register for the class, and that they'll send you the contact or the Zoom link starting next week.
The logins. Yeah.
So that's the only thing that changes. And from your end, there will be some huge benefits that I think will also that you'll enjoy because of this. Number one is there'll be the NVC Academy has built an infrastructure of support for participants. So we'll have our own classroom where we can post messages to one another. We can have handouts there. There'll be links to the videos from the class. They'll be doing all the video editing. They'll be doing a much more professional job than I do, because I don't do anything. I just post them most of the time. And so it's going to just increase the quality for all of us, I think, for having NVC Academy. I'm very, very grateful.
I'm very grateful too. And it's still going to be us. You know, you and Jim and I, all together doing pretty much what we're doing already. It's just going to change some of the support system for us.
Topic wise, we're going to focus on the Pathways to Liberation matrix of self-assessment. Now that may be new thinking for some of you, but it's a tool that Jory and I and two other trainers designed back in the mid around 2006, 2007. And it's designed to be a system of self-assessment to help you craft your own path of NVC integration. And there's 28 skills. And so we'll spend the rest of this year focusing on those 28 skills. And you guys are going to actually help us to write a workbook for that. A couple years ago, I wrote a book called Pathways to Nonviolent Communication, just a small book about the matrix, what we call the matrix. And we have the idea, and we talked to the publisher as well, that a workbook to go along with it might really enhance the experience for people. So we're gonna try out our handouts on you and get your feedback and polish it and see what we can learn from you about some of the practices that we have. We'll have practices for each of these 28 skills.
It's exciting because we all get to learn together. I mean, that is the picture that I have of what we do, that we're learning together. We're a community.
I heard from NVC Academy yesterday that 42 people had already registered for the class. And so if all of you register today, if you haven't already registered, then that would double it to about 75 people. It would be great. I imagine eventually we'll have hundreds of people registered on our Taste of Compassionate Leadership, which we're no longer doing on NVC Academy. That had about 800 people that were registered for that. What it means to be registered is that you'll get an email every week that lets you know that what the Zoom link is, blah, blah, blah. And an invitation about what the topic is and so forth. And then access to the classroom. Yeah, Jeff, you got your hand up. What's up?
Yeah, thank you. I registered and I understand there's a little bit of miscommunication or some lack of clarity about the time. I've heard you say twice that nothing changes time-wise, but my understanding is that it's 7 to 9 Pacific time, which would be 10 o'clock start my time instead of 9 o'clock start my time. So
Yeah.
there needs to be some clarification on that, if you would, please.
Yeah,
at some point.
the timing doesn't change from the Hawaiian point of view. Being an egocentric person, it'll be start here at 3:45. And so that part won't change for us. But because of daylight savings time, starting next weekend in most parts of North America, then it will shift by an hour for some of you. And that may affect some other people in other parts of the world, in Europe and so forth, eventually as well. But there's different schedules. But we're going to keep it always. We used to kind of try to alter it. And last year we made the decision as a group that we would just kind of split the difference and do it at the top of the hour and just keep it at 4 p.m. Hawaii time forever and ever. And so that's what we're going to do. So
Thank you. Appreciate that clarity.
Yeah. So did you catch my celebration in this shift? Did you notice what needs do you imagine I was expressing that were met when I was, and you can just put your answers in the chat if you like, or just speak them out. What needs do you imagine that I'm celebrating and Jory celebrating?
Ease.
Ease, yeah. What else?
Support.
Mm-hmm.
And I see big time support, big time,
yeah.
And connection and growth. For those of you who aren't aware, there's a chat on the right-hand side, at least of our screen, that I'm going through, where you can add things.
Yes, growth.
Yes, growth. Let's
Learning.
growth.
Say that again.
Learning.
Learning.
Yes.
Learning together. Yeah.
Learning together in community. Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. You mentioned about a workbook in the making. I heard joy and contribution in that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashta.
and acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement.
Yeah. Excitement. That's the feeling that I have for sure. And I'm just thrilled with this. I've been friends with Mary. Joy and I have been friends with Mary McKenzie. We got certified at almost the same moment back in 2003. And
With
we've
Marshall directly.
been partners in one way or another many times since then. And it's really great. Joyous trust, creativity. So you see, the point I'm trying to guide us to is when we celebrate, we offer one another the opportunity to empathize with the life generating feelings when needs are met. And so it's catchy. It's like a positive kind of virus when I celebrate and when Jory celebrates and you catch us with your empathy, then it just doubles the power and it enhances the energy that then we have in order to keep moving in a world that is actually full of lots of unmet needs. And so touching into celebration is a key energy source for the practice of nonviolent communication.
It gives us vitality, and it also gives us information about what really is working.
Yeah. And so Marshall Rosenberg, the founder of Nonviolent Communication, he designed these trainings called International Intensive Trainings. And they're still being done. In fact, a few people on this call today were just at the India IIT. And there's usually one or two IITs go on pretty much every month of the year now. And when Marshall designed the trainings, there was a particular element, a couple of elements that we have adapted and adopted even in this practice group. So you know how we begin the class with some kind of a self-connection exercise. Marshall would call it a remembering. Sometimes it was a poem, sometimes it was a meditation, sometimes it was a song or whatever. But the idea was to remember the purpose of practicing nonviolent communication, to help us to remember that the intention of NVC is to create this quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving. And that was always done first thing in the day. And then at the end of the day, after we'd all had our classes and lunch and so forth, we'd come back together as a community and we would do celebrations and mournings. And the idea of the celebrations were to express any needs of yours that have been satisfied during the course of the day in the way that I did. So I'd like to, and then there's also the opportunity for mourning, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But just take about 5 minutes, and whether this is your very first group that you've ever come to today, or whether you've been coming for 4 years, just take 5 minutes and write down some celebrations that are alive in you. You keep coming back, so there must be some needs of yours that are met. So write a few sentences about your celebrations. And I'll set a timer for 5 minutes and let you know and see if you need more time. So I'm putting a needs wheel up on the screen. And as you consider your celebrations, see if you can connect them to your needs
Nice.
as well. About 2 more minutes. So you've got your observation, what happened that you liked, and now see if you can connect it to your feelings and needs.
Can they see that?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I'll do it on the other side. Thanks. And just- yes.
About 1 more minute. Okay. Thank you. You're not done, that's fine. Just keep writing. But I'm going to open up small groups again. Most of them are threes. There's a couple of pairs. And the idea is that you just share your celebrations in the spirit of compassionate giving. Each time you share a celebration, it's a gift. It's a gift that you're giving yourself. It's also a gift that you're giving to your listener. And when you're listening and receiving someone else's celebration, that's another gift. You're giving the gift, the most precious gift a human being can give to another human being, which is your presence. And it's a real experience of compassionate giving and receiving that you can have for the next 15 minutes or so. If as you go, you might run out of things that you wrote, but it might bring up other celebrations, maybe about this group or other parts of your life. Don't limit yourself. Feel free to celebrate anything about any of your needs that you are happy about being satisfied. And we'll see you back here in 15 minutes.
And you set it for how long?
It says 14 minutes. There'll be 1 minute at the end.
Okay, perfect.
All right, here we go. So as we transition back to the large group, first, just welcome back, even though you didn't go anywhere. You're here again. Not that you're
We're
ever...
together again anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
But notice your body. Notice how your body responds to the transition from small group to large group, and maybe hold on in a gentle way, any savoring you have for the needs that were met during the small group, and hold those as a resource as we transition back to more than 30 of us. Marshall said something like, every moment is another chance to practice.
Mhm.
And these transitions are wonderful moments of practice because our body is this instrument of connection. So it can let you know how you're doing from moment to moment. So let's hear from a few of you what your experience was like of either being in empathy for others sharing their celebration, or your experience of honesty when you were sharing your celebrations. So if anyone would be willing to share what your experience is, that would be very enriching for us. Go ahead, Tanya.
Uh, uh, we did celebration that morning. Kind of just organically, we did celebration that morning, and I was sort of tickled by that. I think you said a few times celebrations come with mourning and mourning comes with celebration.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole idea of that they're both about a love to me. They're both about a love.
Mm-hmm.
So the love of what's present and the love of what's not present. So they come out as celebration and mourning.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nice.
And yeah, and I love this the specificity and economy of language in the format that Marshall has of my feeling and my observation and the need that it met, that you can pack a lot in that without going through a very long shade or dog story.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like the way you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very effective use. I mean, Marshall joked that he had a brain damage, and he said he was born with a pea brain, and thus he could only pay attention to about 40 words at a time. And so he said he really tried to design nonviolent communication with this idea of brevity in mind, so that we can pack a lot in to a relatively brief number of words in order to support connection. Thanks, Tanya. Anybody else want to share what your experience was like in the small group? Especially if you haven't spoken yet, but all voices are welcome.
Yeah. Love to hear your experience. You're willing?
Yeah, Carolyn and then Jennifer. Carolyn?
Yeah, so I am so glad we're doing celebration tonight because this exercise made it so clear to me how much I have learned from this class. And that it feels really, really good. And I've listed like all the needs that have been met. There are probably more, but I have like a dozen of them.
Mhm.
And so yeah, and sharing in the small group was it was I don't know what's the word I want. Oh my gosh. It was heart opening,
Ah.
heartwarming.
Mhm.
And and very easy and very, very relaxed and just very nice.
Sweet.
Very, very beautiful. One of the things that comes to my mind about the needs is what Robert Gonzalez said. I did a couple of courses with him way back, like many years ago, and he called it the beauty of needs.
Mhm.
And when I started to really get it about a week ago or two, I that was the phrase that came to my mind. So,
Nice.
Nice.
Nice. Yes.
and I do want to thank you guys for being here doing all this.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that experience, that it was heart opening, since that's the nickname for this group, the Open Hearted Practice Group. That's like a dream come true to hear
Yeah.
you say that. You.
right.
Jennifer?
Yes, thank you for naming that, Carolyn. I too love this celebration focus. I'm not good at thinking positively. I can't do gratitude easily, and I can't do celebration because always the axe is going to fall. If I get celebratory, something really bad will happen. So I really enjoyed this practice because I don't think anything very bad is going to happen from it. One of the things I really noticed about it was I could identify the needs, but could not identify any of my feelings, because you did drop that in as an added bonus of the feelings underneath it. So I really struggled. So there was some mourning there, which one of the other group picked up for self-empathy, and really the mourning of having shut out my feelings and sensations all my life. It's really hard to connect to them. I can do needs as a more intellectual exercise almost. Yeah, I haven't got any conclusions from that, but that's what my experiences were.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I honor wherever we are in our journey, and nothing wrong with anything that we experience. And Sneha, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah, hi, it's Neha.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Um,
I don't think we've met before.
no, it's my first time.
Yeah.
And thank you for hosting this group.
Mhm.
I think going into the breakout room, and we were two of us, and it was a very, I think this experience reminded me how I actually enjoy connecting with people.
Mhm.
There's my mind going like, oh no, I don't want to talk to people, or it's too cumbersome, or I don't like groups. But
Mhm.
then it made me realize how when I have a person present and when I'm able to be present, I genuinely enjoy connecting. So yeah, that was the main experience, this realization that I do enjoy it. Um, my partner had some technical difficulty, so automatically, like she didn't know about the instructions and joys and mourning, but one of the things that she celebrated was having a chance to mourn about something. And I think listening to her, I was able to acknowledge that yes, even I got a chance to mourn about something this morning, and that is a cause for celebration. So I think this experience of listening, experiencing empathy, and remembering something else. So yeah, that was what I had for the last few minutes, and thank you so much for this.
You're very welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you had a wonderful
Yeah,
experience.
and thank you, Genevieve, for supporting it.
So Eric's been supporting us for the last, gosh, 3 or 4 weeks, and Jen as well. I'm not sure if Jen's still here or not. But
Let's see.
there's Jen. Hey, Jen.
Oh, there she is.
So I want to express my celebration for support to both Eric and Jen. Starting with you, Eric. And is that all right to receive some? Yeah, great. So about I don't know, a little over a month ago, Eric showed up on one of these calls, and he knew we were in Tucson supporting our kid and our daughter-in-law and
Our
our
family.
new baby, grandchild. And he said, Jim, if you need anything with your practice group while you're gone, even if it's at the last minute, just let me know. And, just remembering that, I feel very, very touched by the openness, by the enthusiasm. And not only was it words that he uttered, it was actions, because he showed up, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, maybe 6. I don't remember how many times that you were here, Eric, to support this group. And it really contributed to a sense of continuity for the group. It gave a sense of supporting the community and supporting learning and giving a sense of variety and fun. I heard it was fun for people to have you here. And so I want to just pause here and find out how it is for you to hear these words from me.
Oh, I can, I'm just grateful, slightly embarrassed, slightly proud. Let's see, what else? I feel seen, needs met for being seen and contributing and mattering, and yeah, support, contribution, and it was just joyful connecting with all the people that come to see you two. And what a great community to be a part of. So what is that? It's not quite belonging. It's something about being together with people who are along the same path.
Yeah.
So much gratitude. Yeah. How was that? Yeah.
Delicious. No, totally delicious. And
okay, one thing. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
Please.
Just so you all know, for me, empathy is not food. Okay, but for other NVC trainers, empathy is delicious or yummy. Every time Jim says delicious, I want to scream. So just so you know that. Okay. They say yummy. I just like, no, it's warmth. It's warmth. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I'm
cozy.
teasing, of course, but it's
Wonderful.
cozy. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Like a nice electric blanket on a chilly evening.
Yes.
All right. Or
That you can relate to.
a cup of tea. Empathy.
Empathy. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And Jen, would you like to hear gratitude? Celebration?
Go ahead, Jim. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so Jen, here comes first I'll start with the judgment. Jen has this ability to understand Zoom and what's going on behind the screen of Zoom to help people like me and Eric and other trainers to navigate what's supposed to be an easy process, but often just gets baffling. So Eric and I really ran into a couple of troubles with 2-level authentication and this thing and that thing. And so Eric couldn't get on the calls. And Jen was there to support Eric. She figured out what strategies would support connection. And then she was available week after week to make sure that there was an easy transition and flow. And so Jen really contributed to our sense of community, to a sense of trust. When you told me, when you wrote back and said, yes, I'll be there, my whole body relaxed.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now I can really be more present with what's going on in the rest of my world, because I have such trust in your ability to support the technical side of Zoom in a warm and loving way. How do you feel hearing all that from me?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. It's sweet. It's warm, loving, and yeah, especially like you hitting that need of trust, and that really matters to me, and being able to contribute to that, and yeah, even just for support Eric and other trainers is something really alive for me. Even as I'm on my own journey, it's like I don't want to do that without supporting other trainers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for the opportunity too. It's nice to, yeah, and I love this community. It's been here since the
started my NVC journey. So thank you, all of you.
Yeah. It's so sweet because you can't tell who's the giver or the receiver here. It's just like the capacity, the opportunity to just celebrate the gifts. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Anybody else have any celebrations or gratitude you'd like to share with Eric or Jen? You've had your chance to be with them the last few weeks. If anything's alive in you, you can put it into the chat or you can share if you'd
Yeah,
like to.
speak up. We've got a new message here. Let's see what that is. Okay. Kinneret says, I celebrate your growth and your contribution. Celebrate having a space to come to practice by people that have done more growth than I have. I celebrate, and it depends on the day. I celebrate the remembering of the intention of NVC. I celebrate receiving empathy. I celebrate expressing feelings and being human. I celebrate your honor, your humor. I celebrate my needs for acceptance, community, practice, seeing, listening, inclusive leadership, and generosity.
So sweet.
Oh, I take all that in. Woo, that's a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then there's a new one too.
There's a few more.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashta. I think Jim's trying to tell me that he
You know, I
doesn't
want to
want me
get
to
onto,
spend
we got
time
time for
doing
one
that
more
right now.
practice. So the flip side of celebration is mourning. And so mourning is the natural experience that feeling sentient beings have when needs are not satisfied. Mourning is a natural feeling that emerges when needs are not satisfied. And mourning can take many, many forms, including something as common as feeling tired and needing sleep, or feeling hungry and needing food, or feeling thirsty and needing water. Those kinds of basic physical sensations are pointing to mourning, and they are an energy source. When we notice pain and we pay attention to it, the pain motivates us to make a request, to take action in the service of those needs. So mourning is it's the same thing as celebration, only it's the experience we have when needs are not satisfied, whereas celebration is the natural feeling we have when needs are satisfied. And as Tanya mentioned in her sharing, often they come like twin flames. That we, right in the middle of sharing something that we're celebrating, it might bring up some mourning about some unmet needs. So, for example, it's easy for me to touch into one right now. I'm so happy to be home in Maui and to be here with you on this call. And I'm so sad that I'm not holding my granddaughter right now, who's 2,500 miles away. And so my task as a human being is can I grow a heart big enough to hold the beauty of both of those needs? The beauty of the need for community being met and the comforts of home, and the beauty of and the longing for connection with Nora and
the poignancy of it.
Yeah.
It has a beauty to it. It's poignant.
Marshall called it a sweet pain. Pooja, you have a question? Something up?
Yeah, no, I had a question to your sharing. So it was more to do with, you mentioned that if you were in touch with mourning, that the pain will get in touch with you to make a request and meet the need. And how will one do that if there's celebration happening simultaneously? Like, say, if you're comfortable and happy and connected at your home, and you're also mourning, the loss of connection or presence with your granddaughter, then how will you make a request? Because you have pain and you have celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually what you're talking about is savoring the truth of the feelings that are arising and just allowing that to be.
And so my direct experience is, yes, I'm really happy to be here on the call. And it's actually easy for me in this particular moment to imagine that I have a shelf. And on the shelf behind me, this is a metaphor I learned from Marshall, by the way. On the shelf behind me are my unmet needs. So like right now I can get in touch with this longing for touch with Nora, my new granddaughter, who's now 20 inches long. Anyway, and but there's this sense of longing, and the need is for connection, and I can put it on the shelf. So and that's a way of honoring it. I'm not stashing it. I'm not putting it underneath the table or trying to sweep it under the rug or suppress it or ignore it. I'm honoring it by putting it on like a bookshelf, a trophy shelf, whatever you want to call it, as a thing of beauty. And then it's there so that when this call is over, that need may then come more alive, and I'm at a choice point. And so Hannah and Jiva and Nora are sending us photographs and little movies every day. And so I can take that need off the shelf, and I can watch these videos, and Jory and I can cry a little bit or celebrate or whatever we want to do, and as we watch the videos. And then so it's a way of honoring all the needs. Is it the same as actually being in Tucson? No, I can't be in two places at the same time. I've been working on that, but it's just not working out so far. Bodies can only
Only one
seem to
body,
be
right.
in one place in space and
Right.
time at a time. And so can I keep my heart open and hold the observation that sometimes my needs are not met, and especially my preferred strategy. I can't hold Nora. I probably won't hold Nora for weeks now, but I can look at pictures of her. I can remember the experience of holding her. I can talk to my kids about what it's like for them to hold her. And I have body-based memories now of holding both her and my kids when they were little. And I can hold Jory. I can touch Jory and have a sense of warmth and connection with her, or my daughter Jaya, who lives with us, or her dog Kira. There's lots of different ways to get that need for touch met. So I hope that answers your question, Pooja.
I still have one more follow-up question.
Okay.
So then what makes you choose between celebration and mourning and making a request to meet which need?
The sense of celebration or mourning is almost not a choice for me. It's an experience. And then the openness and the willingness to feel what I feel and want what I want. And without trying to push it forward or back, just the willingness to just be with what is and ride the wave, like being out in the ocean and just riding the wave with it and see what happens.
Yeah.
That's my experience of it.
Yeah.
How does that land for you?
Thank you. I just feel a little more curious about where does the choice come from? What is that space?
Yeah, you know, the choice is something we could put on it. And what we're really doing is honoring our experience. And then you can add whatever you want to add to it, but just to know this is what is right now. I mean, this is sort of a silly experience. It's a little off target, but we had some people over for dinner last night, and I got burned on my hand when they put something down. And so I had the choice of now walking around and mourning all of that. It still hurt. It was still there, but I made a choice about where I wanted to put my attention. Kept putting one foot in front of the other. Does that help clarify it?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Kaylee?
Yes, I noticed on your wheel of needs that both mourning and celebration were in the category of regeneration. And I'd love to hear more about that.
Sure.
Is it the question of how mourning supports? Is that what you're curious?
Just in the category of needs, it was categorized. There were 4 items under regeneration.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
Okay.
consider as both celebration and mourning as regenerative
Mhm.
because they're flip sides of the same coin, which is connecting to what Tanya or someone noted a little while ago as the beauty of the need or the
Mhm.
living energy of the need. So that it's these twin energy sources that are regenerative. And so it's not the sadness that's regenerative. It's the need underneath the sadness that's regenerative. It's not the feeling of gratitude that is necessarily the fuel source. It's the underlying need and the savoring of the need. It's
Mhm.
something about opening our heart to presence of needs, whether they're in a temporarily satisfied state or a temporarily dissatisfied state. It's that energy source is contained in the need.
Mhm.
It's almost like you know the potential energy within an atom. It's always there. And when we place our conscious attention on that energy source, then somehow it can be regenerative. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. What were the other 2 words on that list?
Let me
In the
check.
regenerative.
Let's see here. Play and rest.
Got it.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, I thought there was another hand up.
There it is, Pooja's hand.
No, that's
No,
a clap. There's somebody who had their hand up and they put it down. Maybe they were worried about time. But we want
Or
to hear
maybe
from
they're
you.
done.
Maybe you got your question answered. Okay, so practice. Oh,
Oh, there
there
it
it
goes.
goes. Carol,
there-
go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. So I'm one, I'll explain, share an experience, and then I have a question about it.
Okay.
I'm experiencing a lot of mourning this evening, the last hour, and I'm actually also aware of celebrating the ability and the space and the freedom and being accepted to share the mourning.
Mm.
So, and that feels, I'm not happy. So I'm wondering if celebration means happy, because is that a judgment on celebration?
Yeah,
My need, yeah.
I would call that more of the savoring, kind of feel for it. I mean, I'm not going, oh, yay, that's happened, but oh, savoring that something significant has happened and savoring our, and just being human with it.
And
Thank you.
Marshall called it sweet pain.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like what Tanya was pointing to in an earlier sharing when she talked about behind both celebration and mourning is love. And that's where this juicy, it's like joy and happiness are cousins, but they're not the same thing. You can have joy even at a funeral.
Yes.
Right.
So, yeah, as you're speaking, it reminds me of the last thing I shared in this group was I don't know, maybe my whole life, but for decades, or even when I lived in Maui, I look up at the sky and say, is it safe to go home? Can I go home? And the home I was thinking of was a place. I don't know if it was Maui or I don't know where it was, but tonight when sharing, I realized what I've been asking for all this time was, is it safe for me to be home in my heart?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And by you saying the word savor, that's exactly where it falls.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's regeneration. right?
Yeah, you modeled it completely. Thank you.
Oh, mm.
So
Mhm.
I
we
love
only
you.
have a few minutes left, but write down a morning.
Mhm.
Open your heart to mourn just a little bit. Something about this class or about Jim and Jory or about Jim or whatever. Maybe, you know, it could be as simple as maybe the time zone change, the daylight savings shift might bring up mourning for you. And so just write down a morning, write down the observation of what stimulates your sadness. Allow yourself to feel the sadness. It's the natural feeling. It's not a negative emotion. It's what love feels like when a need is not met.
Mm.
And connect that feeling of sadness or mourning, or even if it's despair or hopelessness, connect it to a need. I'll put the needs list back up again. Mhm. And when you find a word that points to the need, or maybe you make up your own word, this list isn't complete by any means, just the words that we liked. But when you find a word or an experience that points to the need, then savor it. Experience the sweetness, the beauty, the humanity of having that need. As far as we know, rocks don't have that. Dirt doesn't have it. We have it. Sentient living beings. We have this experience to savor needs. And as you savor the need, see if you can remember a time when it was satisfied. And just notice what it's like to notice that even though right now you might be sad, you have had the direct experience in the past of having that need satisfied. And that can open yourself to the possibility of a request. What's one little step that you might take in the direction of fulfilling that need? Let go of the strategy and stay in the energy of the need. If an idea pops up, great. If an idea doesn't pop up, great. It'll come. It might come after you sleep tonight or while you're taking a shower, or maybe you'll hear it in a conversation with a friend. You might just get an inspiration. We're coming down to the last 5 minutes here. So I want to share with you the link to register for next week's class. I encourage you to do it right after the end of our class tonight, so that you won't
It won't get
I
lost
won't
in
get
the
lost in the
shuffle.
shuffle. And we're hopeful to have somebody here on this line next week just to direct people of how to register. That's the intention. But it would be so much easier if you just go ahead and click the link now, register. That way you'll make sure to get the Zoom information of how to get connected next week. And if you have a problem, then I see like at least one person seems to have a problem. So then you can write to help@NVCAcademy.com and tell them what your problem is. Yeah, wait a minute, George.
It wasn't everybody, so
Oh.
there you go. Now it
And
is.
help@NVCAcademy.com. And that's the
Well,
help
there you
desk.
go.
And they'll help you troubleshoot it. Might be something with your browser or something else.
Mhm.
And so let's just take a brief moment of self-connection and remember our 2 hours together.
Mhm.
For some of us, a little bit longer because we got here early. And see if you can pull out a highlight for yourself. What's something that happened that made your life more wonderful during our time together? And maybe another idea pops up of a second gift that you received. And then just imagine now we're going to go into another transition. We're going to invite those of you who would like to stay for an after party, just a chance to go to a small group and hang out and just like, you know, a real live practice group. Oftentimes there's tea or coffee afterwards and people just hang out for 15 minutes or whatever. And so you're welcome to do that. We just kind of made some random ones. We don't expect you to stay. Usually there's half
It's
a
just
dozen or so.
choice.
Yeah, half
you
a
have
dozen.
choice.
You can stay as long as you like. And we will be back next week.
Mhm.
At least that's the intention. And
God willing, and the creek don't
we'll be on
rise.
NVC Academy. Please follow that link. And I look forward to seeing what we can discover and learn together starting next week. The class will be on the opening of the matrix. We'll be focusing on presence, the underlying basic skill that is foundational for all of nonviolent communication. So we'll practice presence next week. And until then, thank you all for being with us. Have a wonderful, wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in your life. And we'll see you next week. Aloha, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Aloha.
Aloha.